Again, please don't call me arrogant because what I'm saying is true. I'm European champion, so I'm not one of the bottle. I think I'm a special one.
I am Jose Mourinho. I turn good players into great players and great teams into champions.
Summer 2004. English football had no idea what was about to hit it. While the Premier League slumbered in its predictable rhythms, a Portuguese tactician with slicked back hair and an unshakable belief in his own genius was preparing to tear up the rulebook. Jose Mourinho didn't arrive at Chelsea. He descended upon Stamford Bridge like a conqueror planting his flag on foreign soil. This wasn't a job interview. This was a coronation. Just weeks earlier, Mourinho had orchestrated football's greatest heist. His Porto side, a collection of relative unknowns and tactical disciples, had dismantled Monaco in the Champions League final. They'd eliminated Manchester United and Lyon along the way, playing a brand of football that married Italian defensive steel with lightning-quick transitions. Europe's elite had been schooled by a coach who understood something fundamental. Football isn't about having the best players, it's about having the best system. And Mourinho's system was a weapon of mass destruction. The press conference that followed his Chelsea appointment became the stuff of legend. While other managers spoke in cautious platitudes about taking it one game at a time and building for the future, Mourinho walked into that room like a heavyweight champion entering the ring. The Special One speech wasn't arrogance. It was a declaration of intent. He'd won the Champions League with Porto. He'd won the UEFA Cup the year before. Now he was at a club with Roman Abramovich's billions backing him. The message was clear: bow down or get out of the way. English football had never seen anything like it. The Premier League was used to managers who played the game, who showed deference to the established order. Sir Alex Ferguson ruled the North. Arsene Wenger had revolutionized the sport with his continental sophistication. But Mourinho, he didn't want to join their club. He wanted to burn it down and rebuild it in his own image. This wasn't just confidence, it was certainty forged in the fires of Porto's Champions League triumph. From that moment, Chelsea ceased to be merely a wealthy club with potential. They became Mourinho's laboratory, his canvas, his empire in waiting. The old Chelsea, romantic underdogs who could never quite scale the summit, was dead. The Mourinho era had begun, and English football would never be the same. The Special One had arrived, and he hadn't come to participate. He'd come to dominate. Mourinho surveyed his inherited squad with a cold, calculating eye of a general assessing his troops before battle. Some would march with him to glory. Others would be sacrificed on the altar of his ambition. There was no sentimentality in Mourinho's Chelsea, no room for passengers or nostalgia. Roman Abramovich had given him the keys to the kingdom and a blank check. Now came the culling. The summer of 2004 was a bloodbath. Out went the old guard, the players who represented everything Chelsea used to be. Marcel Desailly, the World Cup winning defender, was shown the door. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, the club's top scorer, was deemed surplus to requirements. Mourinho didn't care about reputations or past glories. If you couldn't fit into his vision, you were gone. This was about building a machine, not maintaining a museum. The message echoed through the corridors of Cobham: adapt or die. In their place came warriors handpicked for Mourinho's revolution. Didier Drogba arrived from Marseille, a raw, powerful striker who would become the physical embodiment of Mourinho's Chelsea. Petr Cech came from Rennes, a giant between the posts who would redefine what it meant to be a goalkeeper in the Premier League. Arjen Robben brought Dutch wizardry from PSV, a dribbler who could unlock the tightest defences. But the most crucial addition was already at the club. Claude Makliel, signed the previous year, would become the fulcrum of everything Mourinho built. These weren't just signings. They were statements. Drogba was the battering ram, the unstoppable force that defenders feared. Cech was the last line of an impenetrable defense that would set records. Robben was the wildcard, the creative spark in a team built on tactical discipline. Together with existing talents like Frank Lampard and John Terry, they formed something terrifying, a team without weaknesses, a collective that combined individual brilliance with suffocating organization. Mourinho didn't build a team. He forged a fortress. Every player knew their role, understood their responsibility to the system. This was total football inverted. Not everyone attacking, but everyone defending, and then exploding forward with devastating precision. As pre-season drew to a close, the Premier League looked at Chelsea's expensive acquisitions and saw another rich club buying success. They didn't understand. Mourinho hadn't bought players. He'd assembled an army, and they were about to conquer England. English football in 2004 was still in love with 4-4-2. Two banks of four, two strikers, get the ball wide, whip in crosses, proper football. It was predictable, traditional, and about to become obsolete. Mourinho looked at this tactical landscape and saw opportunity. While everyone else was playing checkers, he was about to introduce them to three-dimensional chess. The 4-3-3 formation Mourinho implemented wasn't just a different shape on paper. It was a complete philosophical reimagining of how football should be played. At its heart sat Makelele, the defensive midfielder who gave his name to an entire position. The Makelele role became shorthand for the player who does the dirty work, the destroyer who wins the ball and recycles possession. Real Madrid had foolishly let him go, calling him unimportant. Mourinho built his entire empire on that foundation. Everything Chelsea did flowed from Makelele's tireless running, his positional intelligence, his ability to snuff out danger before it developed. In front of Makelele, Frank Lampard was liberated to become the most dangerous midfielder on planet Earth. Previously a box-to-box player with defensive responsibilities, Lampard now had license to arrive late in the penalty area, to time his runs to perfection, to score goals that midfielders had no business scoring. The numbers became absurd, 13 league goals in that first season, but it was the manner that mattered. Lampard ghosting in unmarked. Lampard arriving with perfect timing. Lampard transforming from a very good midfielder into a world-class goal-scoring phenomenon. Defensively, Mourinho's system was suffocating. The midfield three compressed space, forcing opponents wide into areas where they could be isolated and dispossessed. John Terry and Ricardo Carvalho formed a partnership that would become the gold standard for Premier League defending. Fullbacks tucked in, creating a compact defensive block that was almost impossible to break down. And when Chelsea won the ball, the transition was instant and brutal. This wasn't parking the bus, it was controlling every blade of grass on the pitch. Opposition managers were baffled. How do you break down a team that gives you no space? How do you cope with midfielders arriving from deep when you're already overwhelmed trying to contain Drogba? How do you compete with a team that can shut you out defensively and then punish any mistake with clinical precision? You don't. Mourinho had cracked the code of English football, and the Premier League had no answer. The tactical revolution wasn't coming. It had already arrived, and it wore a sharp suit and a knowing smirk. They didn't just win. They suffocated the competition. The 2004 to 2005 Premier League season wasn't a race. It was a procession, a coronation, a systematic dismantling of English football's established order. From the opening day victory over Manchester United, the message was clear. This wasn't the old Chelsea. This was something unprecedented, something unstoppable. The numbers tell a story of utter dominance. 95 points, 29 wins. Only one defeat all season, a meaningless loss to Manchester City after the title was already secured. But it was the defensive record that defied belief. 15 goals conceded in 38 games. 15. Teams struggled to score 15 goals against championship opposition, yet Chelsea's fortress had become impenetrable. Cech went 1,025 minutes without conceding, a goalkeeper operating behind a defence that had perfected the art of organised devastation. The path to glory was paved with statements: a 4-0 demolition of Charlton, a 4-2 victory over Barcelona in the Champions League, announcing Chelsea's arrival on the European stage. Every week brought fresh evidence of Mourinho's genius: tactical adjustments mid-game, substitutions that changed momentum, a relentless psychological edge that ground opponents into submission. Other teams hoped to win. Chelsea expected it. That expectation became self-fulfilling prophecy. April 30th, 2005. Bolton Wanderers. Stamford Bridge erupted as Frank Lampard's goal sealed a 2-0 victory and confirmed what everyone already knew: Chelsea were champions for the first time in 50 years. Half a century of hurt, of near misses, and heartbreak evaporated in an instant. The drought was over. The Special One had delivered exactly what he promised. Players collapsed in tears. Fans invaded the pitch. And Mourinho. He stood on the touchline, arms folded, a slight smile playing across his lips. Of course they'd won. He'd told everyone they would. But this wasn't just about ending Chelsea's title drought. This was about establishing a new dynasty, about fundamentally altering the balance of power in English football. Manchester United and Arsenal had dominated for a decade. Now there was a new empire in London, backed by Russian billions and guided by Portuguese genius. The title was just the beginning. Mourinho had promised to make Chelsea champions. He'd delivered. Now came the hard part: staying there. The Premier League trophy wasn't the endgame. It was a statement of intent, a promise of what Chelsea would become. In one season, Mourinho had taken a club with money but no identity and forged it into a winning machine that struck fear into opponents before they even stepped onto the pitch. The transformation was complete, irreversible, seismic. Mourinho changed Chelsea's DNA at the molecular level. Before him, Chelsea were plucky underdogs, lovable nearly men with occasional moments of brilliance. After him, they were killers. The mentality shift was total, from hoping to win to expecting to dominate, from respecting opponents to intimidating them, from being grateful for success to demanding it as a birthright. Players who wore the Chelsea shirt after Mourinho inherited a winning culture built on tactical discipline, mental toughness, and an unshakable belief in their superiority. That culture didn't disappear when Mourinho eventually left. It became embedded in the club's foundations. English football itself was fundamentally altered. The 4-4-2 formations that dominated the Premier League began to disappear, replaced by variations of the system Mourinho had perfected. The importance of defensive midfielders skyrocketed. Every club wanted their own Makelele, their own rock upon which to build success. Tactics became more sophisticated, defensive organisation more valued. Mourinho hadn't just won the league, he'd educated an entire footballing nation about how the game should be played at the highest level. Chelsea became a global powerhouse, a destination for the world's best players, a club mentioned in the same breath as Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Bayern Munich. The billion spent before Mourinho had bought potential. The Special One turned that potential into reality, into glory, into a legacy that would span decades. Future Chelsea managers would be judged against the standards he set. Future Chelsea teams would be measured against the perfection of that 2004 to 2005 season. 20 years later, we can see it clearly. Mourinho's first season at Chelsea wasn't just about winning a title. It was about revolution. He arrived as the Special One and proved it with ruthless efficiency. He built a fortress that conceded 15 goals. He transformed players into legends. He changed how English football thought about tactics, about winning, about what it means to be a champion. Chelsea before Mourinho was a club with ambition. Chelsea after Mourinho was a club with destiny. The empire he built at Stamford Bridge stands eternal, a testament to the man who promised greatness and delivered immortality. The Special One indeed.